Hey everyone, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kevin Ludlow. I am 42 years old, I live in Windsor Park, and I've lived in Austin for 24 years. And in those 24 years, I've served on a number of local boards and commissions for nonprofits. I've served on a number of neighborhood associations, neighborhood planning contact teams. I was appointed to serve on the Mueller Commission for 2 years, and I've run for the Texas State House of Representatives on 3 separate occasions. And the reason I bring all that up is just to illustrate that this isn't just a topic that I've jumped into. Rather, I've been pretty engaged civically for almost as many years as I've lived in Austin. And given my involvement with this particular topic over the last year specifically, I wanted to talk with you about Proposition B. Then last night, I jumped on Facebook briefly and immediately was hit with one of those SaveAustinNow ads. And I thought, well, shit, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'll do. Rather than try to present my own case for this, let's just see the case that they're presenting, and then I can talk about that and how the current policies either apply or don't apply to whatever it is that they're talking about. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna roll this video that I watched last night, which is a real advertisement from the Save Austin Now group, and we'll just go through it and we'll talk about it. Okay, so this is the actual ad. I'm gonna play it right now.
I heard a woman screaming from a homeless encampment that I knew was nearby.
He tried to stab me through the driver's side window.
She just figured out real soon that she could go to these camping villages and buy drugs, or she'd meet someone and buy drugs and they'd take her back to the camping village.
The hardest part was we continued to hear her wails every night. And we continued to hear just the woman suffering, and my children's window is facing that.
And about the time I turned onto the Ladybird Trail, I heard a woman scream behind me.
We had the kids out in left field warming up. We heard gunshots coming from an encampment.
The homeless situation right now in Austin is not something that's safe for university students, let alone the young women especially.
Paid for by Save Austin Now Political Action Committee.
Well, that's certainly true. Okay, so I don't know if any of these are real accounts of actual people telling real stories in neighborhoods that they live in or not. I really don't know. Or if they just hired some actors and scripted this out and this is what turned out. But it really doesn't matter, because the fact is the stories that they told, the accounts that they gave, are exactly what's going on. Anybody who lives near these camps, as I do, knows that these are exactly the sorts of things that people are experiencing on a daily basis. And if anything, I would say that the stories that they told in here are all pretty mild-mannered. If that was all that was happening behind my house, I probably wouldn't really mind all that much. So here's the quick question, though, that I have for the Save Austin Now people, and this is a dead serious question. How the fuck does Prop B actually fix anything that's described in that video? How does it do anything to change the plights of the people in that video that are complaining about these problems that they have? Those are all serious problems. I'm not denying that for a second. And I am not denying that they're probably stemming from the homeless camps as well. That's probably true. How the fuck does Prop B change that? That's the question that I have for the Save Austin Now people. Because what I think you're doing is using these harrowing personal experiences to conflate issues that are going on right now. And you know pretty goddamn well that even if Prop B passes, nothing of substance is going to change. And what's perhaps worse is that if something of substance actually did change as a function of Prop B passing, well, then that's even far worse than I thought, because what that would indicate is that we're actually being held hostage to the whims of APD right now, who I can only presume doesn't like the current camping policy. In other words, either I'm right and Prop B isn't going to do anything to change the direction of what these people are experiencing in that video, or I'm wrong and Prop B is going to change the direction of what those people are experiencing in the video. But if that's the case, then APD could currently be doing that, which just means they're not doing it, which is even worse for so many reasons. So let me explain. If a person comes up to you and tries to stab you, they should already be arrested for that. That's a serious offense. And if there's somebody screaming consistently behind your house, that already warrants your ability to call emergency services and send somebody out to investigate the situation. So again, how does passing Prop B change any of that? What tools do the emergency services gain with Prop B passing? So here's the basic problem that has stemmed from all of this. And I've spoken with a number of police officers related to the issues that have gone on specifically behind my house. And save for the higher-ups who certainly won't attempt to placate me in this manner, I'll have a lot of officers say something to the effect of, "Look, Mr. Ludlow, we're really sorry about what's going on. We really feel bad for you and your neighbors, and we really wish that we could do something about it. But as you know, the city's really tied our hands with this whole camping ban ordinance, and there's just nothing that we can do about this." And each time I have to look at a police officer and say, "What? That's entirely false. There's nothing true about that whatsoever." There is a world of difference between a guy who just happens to be sleeping peacefully in a tent in one of these encamped areas versus somebody who has literally just burglarized a home, jumped a fence, and now is hanging out in one of those tents in the encampment. These are two completely separate issues, and surely we needn't be explaining this to police officers how that's different. And yet, time and again, I had that exact conversation with police officers. Why? And this is the crux of the entire issue. This is the center point. The reality is that this is happening because we're not doing anything about it. We're not actually stopping criminals from engaging in criminal behavior. Outside of serious offenses, APD is simply not being able to respond to the complaints that they're getting from people. And of course, it didn't take all that long for the criminals to put two and two together and realize that they have complete impunity. So what does APD actually have to say about this? Well, if you spend enough time asking the right questions, you'll eventually have somebody explain to you that Travis County Lockup has effectively created a policy, allegedly on the grounds of COVID, that defines so-called actionable versus non-actionable offenses. And basically what this means is that the county cannot lock up people right now for non-violent offenses. It doesn't matter if a person is caught burglarizing a home over and over again, they're caught on camera, the whole 9 yards. It doesn't matter. APD says the county won't take them, and therefore APD will not pursue them. So let's just take the first scene in that video again.
I heard a woman screaming from a homeless encampment that I knew was nearby.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if that's a real account or not, but that's a very plausible scenario for what's going on. I hear people screaming in the camp all of the time. Okay, so let's take that video in the context that Prop B has just passed. You hear a person screaming and then what? You call the police. And by their own admission, they cannot arrest her, right? All of a sudden, because Prop B has passed, camping has now been made a criminal offense. But it's still a non-violent criminal offense. It still falls into the exact same category that making a public disturbance would. And they can't arrest somebody for a public disturbance by their own admission. Why would they suddenly be able to arrest somebody for trespassing or for illegal camping or whatever the case may be? It's not a felony. It's not a violent offense. The county isn't going to take the person. So how has that helped the woman in that video? What part of her plight has changed? APD might come out, that might happen, and they might very well tell the woman, look, you have to leave, you're not allowed to be camping here. But they could just as well come out right now and say, look, you have to leave, you can't be making a public disturbance in this area. That's completely valid already. And there's nothing stopping APD from doing that, except for the fact that when she leaves, if she does, and she comes back, there's nothing that they can do about it, and they know it. And now what you could say is, well, because we have this additional law, the woman might be hit with additional charges, and perhaps someday in the future, she's going to have to face the music when COVID goes away, if that's in fact what's blocking the county. And we see this woman's got a litany of additional charges because she's been camping illegally. But what the hell does that do to help anybody? The only thing that's doing is punishing the homeless even further for being homeless without actually fixing the very thing that the video purports to want to fix in the first place. It's absolutely maddening to see the lack of logic in their supported position. It doesn't make sense. So are you possibly seeing the disconnect in the logic here? Nothing will change. APD says they cannot arrest people by the county's ordinance for non-violent misdemeanor offenses. Camping in public is a non-violent misdemeanor offense, just like making a public nuisance is, just like so many other crimes that we have. So if they're not arresting people for the current string of crimes that people are calling in, why would they suddenly start arresting people for breaking yet another one of the non-violent misdemeanor crimes that we have? I'm pretty sure they're not going to. which is my whole problem with this advertising campaign. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so let me use my own personal example to explain this. Many of you have probably seen any number of the videos that I've released over the last year detailing exactly what's going on behind my house. It turns out that all of the mess that we saw was the work of two individuals, just two people. And sure, we've had probably 20 different homeless people living back there for years and years, but there were just these two people that moved in and caused all of the problems that we started experiencing and that I was putting out in those videos. They've been caught stealing from all the local stores. They've threatened people both physically and verbally, usually with knives and machetes. They have burned down fencing and other commercial land, as I've told you. And it should be noted that just before they moved into the creek, one of them had just been released from the Huntsville State Penitentiary for charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. This is not a good person. These two people are not good people. But it's important to understand they do not encapsulate or make up in any way the homeless people. These are just two criminals that live behind my house that APD should have dealt with 15, 16, 17 months ago, but for whatever reason, they won't. And this is the same thing that's happening in the majority of these camps, if not every single one of them. What I've learned is that all of these camps are hiding a few people like this within them. And my guess is that the other homeless people know exactly who they are. They don't want them there either. And if you go and speak with some of the homeless, they'll be the first people to tell you that they don't want those people in there. They don't want to be threatened, to have their property stolen. And the last thing they want is to bring more heat and attention to the situation that they're already in. They know they're not in a good situation. That's not lost on most of them. So they don't want to make it worse by having actual criminals living in their midst too, any more than you or I would. So that's the disconnect that's existing with this whole conversation, and it's really disappointing. So I have many other videos like this one, but here is some surveillance footage of the two people that I'm referring to that caused all the problems in our creek. Here's some surveillance footage of them burglarizing a home. And again, I'm going to watch it, and then we can discuss what actually happens in it. Okay, so let's see what happens here. All right, so you can see there's two people walking in. Notice that one of them masks up after we can already see him. They disappear out of the frame. They're gone for a while. And shortly after that, look at that. Here they come running back. They've got bicycles with them because they've just burglarized one of the houses, one of the apartments that's next to my house. So they take the bikes back to the camp, which is just behind my house, and the people who were victimized actually came and talked with me the next morning. I actually went to the camp with them hoping to find the bikes. We couldn't find them. Presumably they'd already been sold off. That was the end of it. So an arrest warrant was issued. I was told by APD to call it in when I saw him. Specifically, I was told by the detective to call it in when I saw him. And since he lives behind my house, I see him every day. So one night I saw him, I called it in, and wouldn't you know, 15 minutes later, I get a call from APD. And they were really nice, but exactly as I described earlier, they said, look, we'd really love to help you with this, but we can't do this for the following reason. They went into the whole homeless conversation, that they can't go in there for various reasons, but more importantly in this case, they can't pursue the warrant because of the fact that they're not allowed to make an arrest right now. So again, this is happening all of the time. The reason that this camp has been such a nightmare for us is because those two people figured out that they can get away with this. They can rob a house every single night. There's no legal tool or instrument for stopping their behavior. It's not going to change. That's the problem that we're dealing with. There's other homeless people back there that to this day don't cause us any problems whatsoever. They're perfectly peaceful people. So the problems that are being described in the video that I played earlier, yes, they're real problems, but they're not being perpetrated by the entire homeless population. They're being perpetrated by certain individuals, and right now our law enforcement is either purposefully or unintentionally neutered from doing the job that they need to be able to do, which is to remove people like this who are truly criminals from society. That's what the purpose of law enforcement is for. And for whatever reason, it is failing. So in the hour that I have spent recording this video, the Yes, I'm PropB guys actually flyed my door yet again. And I have to give them credit. They're really out there in full force working on this. And why shouldn't they be? This is a really shitty situation that the city's got itself into. People are really upset about it. They're really pissed off about it. They're really scared about it. And rightfully so in all of those points. People should be pissed off about this. I'm pissed off about this. 17 months I've been dealing with this bullshit behind my house. It doesn't need to be this way. We know exactly who the people are that are causing the problems. All we need to do is apply any number of laws that we have on the books, and those problems go away, and we go right back to what we've had for as many years as I've lived here, which is just a dozen other people peacefully living back there. And if that's what they want to do, I would love to help them get into a better situation, but they're not a problem for me or any of my neighbors, and we've all spoken about this openly. It's not an issue for us. So the city has bungled this in every way imaginable. They really have. And my council rep hasn't spoken with me one time since the first video that I created got circulated, despite me contacting him several times and being extremely involved in this entire process and everything that we've dealt with. So he can definitely go fuck himself too. I think I have every right to be angry with what we've been dealing with over here, and I think that you do too. But what I'm telling you is, so many people are angry with the wrong people right now, and I just think that you should hear that point of view as well, because God knows these guys are getting their message out. So I just think that you should at least hear a different side to it. Even if you disagree with it, that's fine. So as always with my political videos that I make, I don't ever try to hide behind the anonymity of the internet. So if you'd like to contact me and shower me with hate mail or what have you, here's my telephone number and my email address. You're welcome to use either. I really don't care. Have at it. So don't forget to vote this coming week. Again, I can't tell you which you should vote for, but I hope that you at least found the information that I've shared with you at least enlightening. Perhaps it'll help you to ask the right questions to people that you know. So anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you later.